I'm good. I'm good. All right. Should be called stay, but we'll figure it out. It's kind of like a conversation that I'm having in the relationship. And it's like if you go on vacation and you see some clouds that start to form, what are you going to do? You going to pack up? You're just going to wait till the clouds go away and enjoy that paradise? So, hope you like it. Did I make a mistake when I told you I love you? Did I tell a lie? 'Cause I watched you. Just for the record, what I said was true, yeah. Don't let love pass us by. Don't you do it. What do you do when there's trouble in paradise? Do you pack your things away? Do you stay? What do you do when there's trouble in paradise? Stay, you stay. I know, things aren't the same, but who are we to blame? A silly love game. Do I still make you laugh at times? Or is it tears through the years to years? What do you do when there's trouble in paradise? Do you stay, stay, stay? All you do is stay, 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 stay. All you do is stay.
So I want you to turn to your partner, your neighbor, and the question is, why do people give up in relationships or marriage? Why don't they stay? And what can shift that way of thinking to make couples stay? That makes sense? Turn to your neighbor and answer that question.
I like to fill up a whole room. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you, Brandon, for inviting me. Grown Conversations is really cool. When he reached out to me, I obviously looked him up and what he was all about. And he does this all over the country, so rock on. So, my name is Shiza. Like you said, I'm from Lafayette, Indiana. Shiza is an intentional misspelling of She is a, Sheeza. It's like a throwback to female empowerment and leadership. I lead a majority female band. Our drummer's a guy. We don't hold it against him. We call him the Za. Anyway, we play original rock and soul, kind of like indie or grunge rock, but it's just original music. So I'm the lead singer-songwriter, and that's an awesome thing to have bandmates and people to support me in what I'm trying to do. So thank you all for listening. We were talking about relationships a little bit earlier, and if I remember correctly, it might be forgiveness. And so I was going through all of our originals and like what works and what doesn't, what fits and what doesn't. And I wrote this song called The Feel, because it's kind of about like, even when we're not close together, even when you have me all wired up, and like annoyed, I still feel something. And so a little bit of a sexy song. I'll play my saxophone and then give you some more original music. But in the meantime, thank you all for being here. Can't see your face, but I feel you near. You're out of space when I need you near. Blues cheese. And if you walk my way again, I'll say, yeah, yeah. Burn, baby, burn. Burn, baby, give me love, shack. Burn, baby, make a heart stop. The little lady that love drive can't get up, so I roll on. Baby, give me love, shack. Burn, baby, make a heart stop. The little lady, she let love drop, so I roll on. I got a feeling to get my mind gone. Highway 11, as far as I can tell, headed towards heaven on a highway from hell. Demons in my rear view, ahead of me a clear view of heaven, headed towards heaven. I've been gone too long and I feel like heading on to heaven. Working since 7 has got my mind wrong. Headed towards heaven to get my mind wrong, and I feel like heading on to heaven, to heaven, to heaven. And I'm working since 7. I'm like a time bomb. Oh yeah, and I'm headed towards heaven. Get my mind gone. Headed towards heaven, headed towards heaven, headed towards, I'm headed towards heaven. There was sun upon our skin, sun upon our skin then, sun within our smile, sun upon our lips, sun within our kiss. But the world too turned gray and blue, sent shadows over me and over you. Shadows on our skin.
I don't think anyone has hurt me like that deeply, which I consider to be a blessing. But then I started thinking, well, I don't think that I've hurt anyone else that deeply. And then the more that I started thinking about it, the more I realized I may not know if I've hurt someone that deeply, but also through the lens of my faith, there are things that I constantly do that hurt Jesus, like all the time. And he has continual, boundless grace with me. And so I started writing about this relationship that I have with Jesus and about how much love he has for me. And so this is a love story in 8 chapters. Bye. Boy says hi, girl says, okay, maybe. Okay, fine. They go out. They go out under the stars. They go out onto the open water. They go out to the carnival, and he buys her one of those big bears. They go out anywhere and everywhere. And she says, I think maybe I love you. And he says, I have loved you for forever. And she says, I think maybe I am in love with you. And he says, I loved you before I even knew you. I have loved you always. Before the earth was even a thought in the great expanse of space and time, I knew we were tied together. And she says, no one has ever said anything as beautiful and poetic and holy as you said to me in this moment. And they kiss. And they go off down the street holding hands, and then she goes back to her home and he goes to his too. They are married and in true marital bliss. He gentle and sweet, their roots deep, a reminder of the depth of his love for. He brings her the seeds of daisies, and daisies are wild. She smiles. She goes outside, plants her feet, and casts them out. Wherever they land, she whispers, grow, grow, and they do, rampant and free, gorgeous and simple, a reminder that he loves her for what she is and all that she is going to be. 5. And here's the thing. He brought her so many different kinds of seeds, it would be impossible to name them all. And her garden grew vast and wide, and the stems grew strong and tall, and I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure when it all began, but somehow this garden grew cold. Somehow the girl, her hands grew tired, and her fingers grew numb, and suddenly she said, I can't do this. I don't want this garden anymore. And that hurt him to his core, and she left. 6, he didn't wait. He took off running down every side street, every black corridor, looking in every shadow. And I know you've heard this, at the edge of the world, and said, I'm not leaving until you do. So I guess we will just sit at the edge of the world together from now until the end of time. And they sat about 2 feet apart from each other, both looking out at the pale of the waves and the rippling of the sky. And in the silence, you could hear his heartbeat, even, steady. 8. Forgive me, she exhaled. I love you. He inhaled, and she smiled. Thank you.